everyone. Welcome to the first live Keyframe of Mind episode.
Woo! Woo! Give it up.
I'm Esther. This is Katie, Julie, and Jenny. We're so excited and so grateful to be here. Thank you guys so much for having us. For those of you who don't know, Keyframe of Mind is a podcast the four of us created to talk about life in the games industry as a developer and animator, and we've gone over topics ranging from animation best practices, navigating the industry, and a lot about that whole struggle of being creative and trying to fulfill your career goals while balancing things like doing laundry and fighting off imposter syndrome, all those kind of things. So for today, we're gonna continue the topics from yesterday's micro talk about failure. And we're going to just kind of give examples of one of our favorite failures, or we wanted to put a positive spin on it. We're going to call it our happy mistakes.
Happy mistakes. My name is Katie. I will be the moderator today. Jenny, would you like to start us off with your happiest mistake?
Boy, would I.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so my happiest mistake. So on a past project, it was like a platformer, and we had some really cool things going with the mechanics, but the player character unfortunately embodied some uncomfortable stereotypes, specifically about overweight people, and one of our team members actually came to us, and she told us, "Hey, this is really hurtful to me," and instead of coming together as a team and saying like, "Hey, we understand where you're coming from, and we want to hear about your feelings or whatever," we basically all doubled down and said, "No, this is harmless. This is funny." And I mean, there was stuff like the main player character, like the weapon was like a sub sandwich. Like the character would like fart to double jump. It was not.
Oh, the mechanics were like reinforcing.
It was reinforcing, yeah.
Oh.
And I gotta admit, this was a while back. I mean, I was kind of a douchebag back then. Like, I came up with some of this stuff. I designed the player character, or I had a hand in designing the player character, I should say. And like, I will admit that there was like an element of like wanting to fit in with the studio culture, and so I was also new to the job, and so when she came to us and made herself vulnerable with her insecurities, I mean, she was basically coming to work every day to work on a game that said, "Hey, this is what we think of people like you. Haha, very funny." Like, it wasn't cool. And there was no particular catalyst for me realizing that, hey, this was kind of a shitty way to be. It was just me, I don't know, getting my head out of my butt and looking back on this and thinking like that was not in any way, shape, or form cool. Like, we were her team. We should have supported her. We should have at least tried to understand this is where she's coming from. This is what her feelings are, and it's not only hurting her but also hurting her performance, as a team member. And it made me realize I don't want to have another moment like that with my team. I don't want to have to work on something that is actively hurting someone. And I know that these days, developers, we're so out there now because social media and things like that. And so we're way more open to player feedback. And, we can't make everybody happy, but we don't actually have to actively hurt anyone either. And
make a fun game and be kind.
Yeah, exactly. And so, that was what I took away from that, unfortunately, belatedly, that I don't want to be that person again. I don't want to.
To realize, too, whenever people come into, we all have our job titles. We all have modeler, animator. We're all bringing different experiences to the table. We also have life experiences that we're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And in that kind of context, you might not know that something's really hurtful. And obviously, someone who's had to deal with this over and over and over again, will kind of say it, and that's useful information too. That's an asset that they can bring to your team.
Yeah.
It reinforces the importance of having a large range of experiences to pull from on the developer team as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get your diversity behind your camera.
It's not just a buzzword.
Also a buzzword.
I mean,
also a buzzword, but
also not.
Do it.
It's important. So yeah, that was mine. Just listen to your team. Don't be a dick. Say sorry sometimes.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for sharing your experience with us.
You're welcome.
That was a very... Aww.
Yeah.
Julie, would you like to share with us your happiest mistake?
Yes. I don't
Pick a
know if
mic.
this is necessarily a failure or a happy mistake, but it was kind of a crappy-ass experience that I learned a lot from, so I'm going to talk about it. But basically, I kind of talked about this on our first episode of Keyframe of Mind that everyone should listen to. But my first job was an unpaid internship, but what I don't think I ever talked about then was it was basically 3 months of unpaid crunch. And
Ugh.
so they had basically more animation work than animators. And for my time there, most of the bulk of that work was being done by unpaid interns.
Nice.
So I would go to work at about like 8 to 9 a.m., work until like 2 to 3 a.m., walk down like darkened streets alone, and try to go to sleep while like freaking out that like I was like falling behind and like I wasn't keeping up.
So not concerned for your safety quite as much, more
I mean,
tormenting
who cares
yourself about your day job.
Yeah. I should also probably mention that I was living in an apartment underneath a flight path, which I mean, like, yeah, so great times for all of us.
So basically, you didn't sleep.
No, I definitely did not.
Just naps.
Yeah, just naps at the desk while animating. But when at the end of the 3-month internship, when they were like, man, you're such a great fit for the company, like you should come work here all the time. And they offered me a salary that was like super low, even especially for like the price of living in that area. I kind of still hesitated. So I'm happy to say that I did turn it down. And like I spent like 6 months being like a bank teller or something like that. But I did learn 3 things from that, and I made a list because I'm in dark. And basically, the first thing is I think like when you're out of school and you're fresh-faced and you're innocent, I'm saying that students are young and stupid and you shouldn't be like that. But basically, no one's gonna fight for you. You basically just kind of say yes to anything because it's really competitive out there. But like the thing is, like no one's gonna really fight for you if you don't fight for yourself. And like if you don't think that you and your skills have worth, then you're really easy to take advantage of. And like companies will do that. So like don't do that. Like we should definitely have been paid for our work, and like that's not an industry standard that anyone should allow.
It's okay to be hungry, but you do have to pay for your food.
Yes. Because you're actually
Starving.
Yeah.
I'm a starving artist.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the second thing I would say is like the importance of a support system. So one of my first industry friends was, shout out to Jim Pagan out there.
Jim Pickett, give it up.
And so he's still my close friend today, but he was a friend that I made at that company. And not only did he do things like send me like stupid emoticon bunnies that I laughed at forever because I was delirious from sleep, but he would also do things like keep things in perspective. So like one time the company was like, we're giving you the weekend off. You guys worked really hard. I was like, this is such a nice company. Wow, what a great thing that they just did. And he's like, Julie, we're supposed to have every weekend off. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. That's supposed to happen. So like I said, like having a support system, have people kind of keep you in gear. And the third and most important thing is the importance of a work-life balance. They should really teach you this in school because they definitely do not. So it's different for everyone. It's different for every studio. But when I left that one, I knew that when I went to the next studio, I had to go to, I needed someplace that basically, a company that didn't default to crunch, that like, it wasn't, I mean, every company's gonna crunch, but I just needed someone where that didn't just like immediately reach for that. So I feel like if I didn't learn that like really early on, I probably would have burnt out of the industry like already. Like I would definitely not be here now. I would be a bank teller forever. Like
I know it's a trial by fire, but that's really hot.
yeah, it was great. But yeah, hey, I'm happy to be here. So
You made it.
at some point. So
Good Lord.
God.
Jenny, do you have something to add?
Just that she was going to bed at getting home at 2 in the morning. You had to get up at 8 or 9 a.m. Like,
yeah, it was fun times, guys.
no, actually not.
Yeah, no.
Thank you, Julie, so much for your sharing your experience with us.
Wait.
Oh, we gotta
touch.
Okay.
Aww.
Okay.
Esther, please tell us about your happiest mistake.
Mwah. So my mistake is kind of, I guess it's related to Julie's last point about work-life balance. So when I started in the industry, I had this misconception that I was basically treating it like this is Julie's analogy. I'm totally gonna give her credit for it. Treating my priorities in life, like career, and then taking care of yourself and your relationships, like a to-do list where I can't move on to 2 and 3, which I was. Number 2 is like my personal health, and 3 over my relationships.
Oh,
because I had bad prioritization. And number one, I was treating it as my career. And I couldn't move on to 2 and 3 in my head because I wasn't done with 1. But all of us know, there's always the next deadline, the next patch, the next ship, the next alpha, the next crunch. And I kept thinking, okay, after this date, I'll figure out healthy eating habits. Or after this, I'll figure out why the hell I can't sleep. Or, after this, I'll maybe go see a therapist because apparently I'm really, really depressed. So I was doing that. And for me, that ended up spiraling into just this hot mess. My back pain was so bad that I just had like pulsing agony up and down my spine that would also add to this migraine that would make you want to throw up all the time, which doesn't help when you're staring at screens all day.
No.
My eyes were aching. Like it felt like this pressure, like my eyes are gonna pop out of my head, which is like a huge phobia of mine anyway.
No.
And then I was so anxious that it was like giving me I was having these like paranoid like Final Destination type thoughts where like I would use the blender and I'd think about, oh, what if the top comes off and then the blades spin out and bounce off the ceiling and then impale me in the forehead.
So your body was like telling you to put it out of its misery?
I don't know, but
Color blades.
I mean, very likely.
Oh, geez.
Clearly, I was just getting out of control, and I was getting sick all the time, and I felt really isolated. So I wasn't really going to anyone for help or support or even knowing about any options. I was just contending along the lines of, okay, well, I just need to get to this next deadline. I just need to finish this game, and I just need to put in a few more hours. We're almost there. And that almost there never happened. So now, and my friends all know that I'm still really bad at this. So I'm not trying to say like
All are.
I handle my life so well. But now I'm more aware of it. So, little things like, oh, it turns out I have bipolar disorder. So probably just take meds. That's cool. Going to therapy when I'm super stressed out and adjusting that if I need it once a month, once a week. Figuring out good sleeping habits like getting off my phone a little earlier. Talking.
You got to send that hot tweet though.
Yeah, the final
important.
hot tweet.
You gotta use that
Try to
blue light
time
filter
it.
on your phone so you can
Yeah.
go easy on your eyes.
Yeah, which also I use a thing called Flux on my monitors because it helps reduce that eye strain. So a bunch of little housekeeping things that are maybe just basic and everybody knows, but just I try to remember now to keep that constantly going, and it's not a to-do list. It's just, you can do all of them at once. And just because I realize that, just because I'm taking care of myself and prioritizing, maybe working out, it doesn't mean that I've completely dropped my career and everything I've done to build it up. I can do both.
And I said, it sounds really cliched to say self-care is important, but self-care is important. You are an asset. You can't do your best work if you're suffering. So, I mean, you really do need to take care of yourself. And that whole idea of just, when I get this in gear, then I can take care of myself. That's never going to happen. That box is never going to stay checked.
Yeah.
It's just a constant struggle, and you have to remember that.
And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask your team for help if you have things going on in your life that are preventing you from doing your best work. It is important to communicate with those that care about you so that they can support you. Like you guys.
Yeah.
Love you.
I mean, a lot of this was before I was friends with you guys, and just building the community that we have with each other and with us, tons of these awesome people in this room. And when for example, the failure micro talks yesterday, it's oh, you're not alone, and it doesn't mean you suck that you feel this way or that you struggle. All these amazing people are like that, and it normalizes it, and just even that by itself. Helps decrease that sense of isolation. And then having actual personal people you talk to. These 3 people have just saved my sanity so many times.
The biggest thing I've learned from talking with y'all has been trying to be more honest with myself and about how I'm feeling at the time. I've learned it's okay to be unhappy and unsatisfied, and by talking it out with you, I'm able to pinpoint more clearly what's causing that and make changes to fix it. So your support network is absolutely essential. And if it's your coworkers, if it's your family, if it's your friends, if it's strangers that you meet on Twitter and get to know over a couple of years.
Everyone here.
Yes, it is still a community, and it can still take you very far, and farther than you could have gone by yourself. I guess that brings us to my happiest mistake, which I already talked about yesterday in the Animation Bootcamp Micro Talks. So it's a secret, and you can't see it until it's on the vault. So, too bad. So sad.
Wow, Katie, way to be supportive.
I already had a panic attack on stage yesterday.
I'm not going to ask you to do it again.
I'm not going to do it again.
No.
I'll just puke. It'll be bad.
Try first, Katie.
On demand. So yeah. Do we have any questions from the chat?
Yeah. Oh. Ooh.
Oh, they're writing them down.
Watching Lindsay
Are they going to be delivered
scribble
to
with
us?
her
Are they
beautiful
juicy?
handwriting.
Are they juicy?
Why
Are
do
they
people
awesome?
Why do people keep saying that word today?
Sorry.
Juicy?
Are they crunchy?
Crunchy.
Are
I'll
they
take crunchy.
jangly?
This is actually the rest of our talk. We're so sorry.
Moist.
Moist.
There we go. Nope. Don't do that.
When my lead would tell me, like, hey, Jenny, just, like, make it juicy. Like, what? Oh, okay. Ooh, questions.
What we got? A Bag of Candy asks, what are some misconceptions you had going into the animation industry? Ooh, that's a crunchy question.
Where do I start?
Jenny, how about you?
Well, like I said, where do I start? I think the biggest misconception is actually a fairly common one in that I somehow thought, like, working on games, you would just be having fun and playing games all day. And it's like...
Play with Nerf guns all day,
Exactly,
you know?
Nerf guns and whatever. And it's at some point you have to, like, actually work and talk to your coworkers and make hard decisions, and it's still work, even though you're making games. Like, that was the biggest one. But I think people still have that misconception, like, you need to go to work.
It's like animating cartoons, you know? You're making something fun all day. Like, you don't really... You see the final result, like the silly slapstick, all that good stuff. You don't really see the blood and sweat and crunch and
tears.
Sadness that goes into the behind the scenes. Not saying there's no joy. There is absolutely joy in this creative process, but it is hard work. And how you interpret hard work is ultimately up to you. Do you rise to the challenge? Do you sacrifice your health, your body, to finish a product, to ship it? That's a big part of it.
It is, yeah.
I want to say mine's basically similar, where it's basically like, I think whenever you go into any kind of creative industry, you're just like, I can like draw / animate whatever I want. But technically speaking, you're a worker and you have a client, and that client is your studio, which means that if they want you to animate like 12 billion breathing idle cycles, like that's what you're going to animate, and it's going to be super fun and you're going to love it, because that's definitely what you would pick. But I think like not having that creative freedom is why a lot of us just like, we actually go home and we animate like whatever we want to animate, you know. We animate like butts pooping or whatever the heck, you know what I mean? Whatever makes us happy is basically
That would make me happy.
Hashtag butts.
Our next game is just butts pooping. We're announcing it right now. And we're all just working on it.
I am so ready to animate this.
Yeah. So basically, I think, like I said, like I think you think that you'll have all that creative freedom, like it's a creative outlet. And what I've learned from like different people in the industry, I've like have had friends that were animators. They would work in the industry, and then they're just like, wow, this is a job. And it's like, yeah, you're getting paid for it, man. Like you can't just do whatever you want. And I think even when you're working on like the best game ever, or you are animating like pretty things, like maybe it's something that you don't want to animate, like you don't want to like animate like heads getting pulled off or whatever, like that's not like the outlet that you want. So sometimes you have to find creative outlets, and that sometimes means that animation, even if you love it, it can't be your job because maybe you love it too much, is what I'm saying. I'm saying that we all don't love animation. This went terrible.
On the animation exchange.
I was just thinking about the LASIK gone wrong from David's talk. Just
Let's not think about that.
Okay.
Esther.
Haunted by that forever. Dang it, I was going to kind of say that. Let's see. I had the misconception going into animation that life is going to be all hunky-dory and everything is sparkles and rainbows, now that I found a job that I like to do and somehow can get paid for. And I think just all the stories that we see shared and that we talk about in our podcast and like in the micro talks, it's not it's not like that. Surprise. It's still a job. It's still your life. It's still your career. There's still things that happen that take you away from it. You still have up and downs. You still sometimes love it and still sometimes would rather do anything but animating because you've just done it all day, and sometimes you're super motivated and creative and your ideas are like on point, and sometimes you just really feel like you suck. And I didn't think that was going to happen. As someone who changed I changed my major 6 times. You know, I was a French major, I was a psychology major, I did environmental engineering, graphic design, architecture. I can't remember the other one. And then I finally...
You're a vet.
Oh, yeah. I thought I was going to be a vet also. And, you know, all these... Clearly, I didn't end up doing any of them. I graduated with an economics degree. And then finally, like, making my first animation, I had this weird Disney moment of, like, hearts and this is totally it.
The animals started talking to you.
Yeah, the animals started talking to me. And you know, I thought that would be the happily ever after, and it was totally just the start of the journey. A great journey, but a very challenging journey.
You always think that everything's gonna click perfectly for you, and like you're gonna be like, oh, I'm an animator, like I made it, like I'm gonna walk into rooms and people are gonna know who I am, and they're gonna know I animated on these games. That never happens. Like you're always just like, I don't belong here. Like I didn't. Like, I'm sorry that like I'm not like a real animator. And like I talked about this on our last podcast where I was just like. I was invited to a part of an animation hangout, and I was just like, "Man, am I not qualified to be part of this? To even talk to these people? Like, they're gonna find out I'm a phony, and that like I don't know, like."
We feel these feelings like pretty much every day.
What I'm saying.
Every day.
That kind of leads into how I felt about finally getting into the industry, because my first job was as a receptionist for a television channel. So all through school, growing up, that first job, it was, I gotta get animator on my LinkedIn profile, and then I'll be real, I'll be legit, I'll get all that respect, it'll be great. And as soon as I got it at my first job in Tampa, it was like, okay, I have it, but what's next? What's that goal? Like, I can't, I'm 20-something, I can't have reached my goal already. I need something more.
Yeah.
So that goalpost was like constantly moving, and the misconception I had is like, once I got that title and that goalpost moved, then I understood, oh, this is a job, this is a hustle.
Yeah.
I can't just sit in my chair and animate all day. I have to participate in so much more. To not just animate the best I can, but to make this thing I'm working on the best it can be. So the realization of like all the other skills I was missing hit really hard, and it was really, really scary.
Yeah.
I think also with like the whole goalpost moving, I think we had this conversation before where we were talking about how, you know, when you get your first job, you're like, okay, you know, in school, I just need to get my first job. And then you kind of assume it's going to be just a really linear path of like, you know, promoting and getting to senior or whatever. And then now that we're in the industry, we're like, oh, there's different specializations, and animator is a different job at different studios.
Even so, those leadership positions don't really mean what you think they mean.
Yeah.
You're animating less. You're managing people more, and that's a whole other skill set. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
And you never really master animation. I feel like we're always learning, and I think that's what someone said about Rise and Spline, to plug that right now. Is basically like we all work in the industry, and so like maybe you think like, oh, they know enough. Like why the heck shouldn't like fresh-faced, like young, stupid students like do this? But like technically speaking, we're all like young and stupid, and we're all still learning. Like we have lots to learn, and like that never stops. And like if you want to be a good animator, if you want to be good at any creative industry, you just have to keep on learning, because there's so much out there. You're never gonna know it all.
Oh yeah, if you lose your curiosity,
you'll never master it.
You're done.
What I'm saying is that you should just all give up right now. I'm really good at this on a Facebook.
I feel like Julia's been on a really negative spin today.
How does it really make you feel?
It really meant this to be a positive.
You're so
No,
Like
it's
we
good. I
have
love
we
it.
have more
and
questions.
I'm scared.
Oh,
Okay.
ooh, oh my God.
Mike, you've gotten a lot better at this.
That was
Not that.
Oh, there's more than one. Hold on, I gotta pick up these planes. Ooh,
Alrighty.
did I miss one? Okay. That was cool. Thanks, Mike.
Oh, we have like, how much time do we have left? 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Oh, shoot. What do you have over there? What can we fit in 5 minutes?
Oh, there's a lot of questions.
This one. Oh, Aloes asks, do you have any tips for focusing when you're not mentally feeling well?
Oh man.
Ooh, we want to talk about our mantras?
No.
I feel like we've done like the mantras before. Like people can go listen to the mantras thing. But
We have like a whole 2-hour podcast
episode.
dedicated specifically to burnout and how we deal with it. With
I will say, like,
Yeah.
if it's something that you just need to take time for, because, like, I think we've all had that time where you're at work and you want to cry, like, go away from your desk, go take a walk, go to a coffee shop, and like just bawl your eyes out because you feel so much better afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, like I don't know. I don't know about you guys. I think you guys have all done it.
I cry at
definitely
work
done
all
it.
the time.
Yeah. I also do like the angry stomps around the studio, which is like makes my coworkers really love me.
I've got like the lip wibble tell, so my coworkers can kind of tell when it's like time. So I just like a piece.
Because
I gotta go.
You need to step away, and like you need to kind of reevaluate. And like I said, like just take it one step at a time. I think we've all had those moments where we don't feel like doing what we do. Like we can't do it.
Yeah.
And like it's overwhelming, and you just need to like take a breath and just step back, and then kind of, like I said, just give yourself some time. It's not gonna magically fix itself.
Mental and physical space.
Yeah.
And then don't underestimate the importance of physical space. It really helps.
Oh yeah, you should
Yeah.
do what I do and like sit in the corner with your 2 monitors in front of your face so people can't see me cry. It's really cool.
Yeah.
No, I've straight up just been like, I gotta go run some errands, and then I go in my car and cry. And so it was a mental errand, and I come back and just handle the rest of my day.
Yep. That's a good.
I definitely take a walk outside. If even around where I work, if it's not trees and happy things, just getting fresh air, getting out of the environment is extremely helpful. Get that vitamin D, absorb that magnesium. It'll lower your stress a little bit more than you think. And you just have to step out of the situation. Like y'all said, if it's a coffee break or something like that, just remove yourself.
Yeah, and honestly, like I've definitely cried at my desk. Like I have an office, but my wall is like glass, and I just build like the wall of monitors, and I've cried. And I think that there was one time where like a modeler actually had to come in and talk to me, and he looked at me, and I was just like, like, I'm sorry, we have to move the entire scene. And I was just like, you're telling this to me now? And he's like, I'm so sorry.
And if your coworker is upset, read the room.
Yeah.
I will say this. It's great to show concern, but if someone looks like they're about to cry, sometimes asking them if they are okay is the worst possible thing you could do.
You've just broken the dam.
Yeah,
You broke the
see them,
dam.
like, struggling to like try not to cry. Just pretend like they're not doing it. Like for
Yeah.
real. Like if you ask, you're getting the waterfall. That's
Yeah.
basically what's gonna happen.
Hot tip. So
You have time for one more, do like a fast one.
I think we have 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
What? Which one?
I don't know.
Oh yeah. Okay. I think we're gonna end it about
okay.
now.
I think so.
So.
Okay.
Thank you all very much for tuning in to our very first live episode of A Keyframe of Mind. We are so happy to be here and so honored to be among the incredible animation talent here today. Of course, you can follow us online at animstate.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at A Keyframe of Mind. Please feel free to send us comments, share your stories, and we'll definitely look forward to talking about them on
Ask
our
the
podcast.
questions that we missed.
Actually, the questions that we did miss.
You can just add us on Twitter. We'll answer them there.
Yeah, we'll probably do that
we
after.
promise we won't blab as
Ne-
much as we have been.
Niels Silinkar asks, how do you deal with imposter syndrome, especially earlier in your career?
That's a
I don't
doozy.
think you'll like the answer. A Bag of Candy asks, how do you motivate yourself to get working when it's the last thing you want to do at the moment?
That's also a doozy.
You might not like the answer,
Yeah.
but we'll do our best. Anyway, we'll get to those on Twitter after the fact.
Yeah.
As always, we want to thank the fine developers at Anim State for hosting this podcast, for putting on some killer GDC animation boot camps, and of course, for this before you, the Animation Exchange. And I think my mic's falling off. Anyway. We also want to say thank you to Twitch for hosting us today. It has been absolutely stellar. And oh my gosh, I think I'm going to cry again.
Oh,
It's like so overwhelming.
Oh, we didn't. Okay.
This goes out to all the Rise and Spline folks who yell at us for saying all the time in the chat. So, aww.
Aww. Everyone just took like 4 shots and like they're gonna go to the hospital now.
Yeah, they're done. Last shout out we have is you can also catch us on Saturday mornings at 9:30 PST with our good pal David Gimpson with Rise and Spline.
The good David.
The good David, capital G. And with that, thank you very much, and keep that keyframe of mind golden.